We are ready to go. Let me get the camera up and on. Nope, go away, screen. There we go. Nice zoom in shot of Mr. Orlock here. Good afternoon, or whatever time of day it is for you, wherever you are, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Hobby Hangout. Just me today, as it is on most Sundays, because everybody else works on Sundays, or has kids, or does something else with their precious time. We, of course, are going to warm some hams. Slurry Dude, of course, they don't have to be blue. Give him some low sticks to cheer him up. Boo. Yes, low sticks, by the way, you don't know, are Necromunda equivalent to cigarettes. In game rules, they don't do anything for the person smoking them, but what they do is they give a cool bonus to nearby gangers who have a low intelligence stat, because you only think smoking is cool if you're not very smart. What I mean when we often say that Necromunda is kind of one of the last bastions of a little bit of satire on Games Workshop's part, and I think that's a great example of it, because they would never make that joke in 40k. Hello, Danny Grouse. Alright, so what we've got here today... no music today, because A, last time, couldn't quite get the volume figured out, and B, we got hit with copyright share for it, because I guess the playlist that I picked was Twitch safe, but not YouTube safe. So provide your own music. I would recommend the Darktide soundtrack if you need something Warhammer, ham-warmery. You don't want to sell me low sticks, you want to go home and rethink your life. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So, theme of the day is Orlock, because they're my gang that is mostly the most painted so far. Now, the Orlock I have so far were painted, this is a long time ago, and I speed painted these using the Iron Painter speed paints, because they had just come out, A, and B, I was trying to get it done very quickly. So, I've got the two schemes I've got that I picked for these guys were this kind of green with brown vest, and then red with the brown vest. Now, I've kind of gotten away from using speed paints because these... Now, I do think the speed paints gave a really good result, especially on these, the vests here. I mean, that's about as well as I could do with manual highlighting. Anacron says, can't you just sing something for us? Yes, but A, I'd run out of breath. B, I'd probably get, if I sang anything recognizable, it'd get copyright claimed anyway. So if I do a good job, same problem. If I do a bad job, you'll hate me. Now, I am not a vocalist, although I do have some vocal training. Fun fact, my bachelor's degree is in music performance. I am a viola performance major. Do I use that in my current job? No. But the things I learned there, I think, did help me a lot with learning how to practice, so I don't regret it at all. But as part of that, I did have to take basic musicianship, which means I did have to pass singing classes, so I can sing a little bit. Do, re, mi, fa, so, do, so. Yeah, I kind of lost it. That's what happens when you don't practice. Kind of like my Spanish. Toqué clases de español para 3 años en mi escuela, pero no quedó mi vocabulario porque no practiqué mi vocabulario. Which is a nice way of saying I took Spanish for 3 years in high school, but I don't remember any of my vocabulary because I didn't practice it. And when you don't practice things, you don't remember things. Just like painting. The reason I don't want to stay with this scheme is I don't remember the colors I used. I don't remember at all. But, like, you know, for a speed paint, this guy ain't bad. Well, King of the Sea Monkeys. Welcome, my lord. Everyone knows Orlocks should be the shade of red that is their own blood. I actually really do like... I mean, I think you're making an anti-Orlock statement, which is, well. Orlock happens to be one of my favorite gangs. I actually legitimately do like red on... this red and brown look on Orlock. I actually kind of dig it. And, like, it's a nice... bright reds and blues. I think this kind of color scheme right here is what I'm going to go for. But I'm going to do it with some manual painting, which will take longer, but that's fine. Hello to Sugar Candy Ventures, friend of the show, Fiverr. Fiverr's new expansion to their game. They have a game called Snack 28, which is about candy cannibalism. We talked about it in one of our videos. And I think we did talk about it in our post-Adepticon video. and we talked about, well, we didn't get a copy because they all sold out, but they are getting published, and their official publication date was yesterday. So honestly, if you just Google Snack 28, no C, and you'll find it on itch.io if you want the digital version, but you can also find a physical version, I believe even in Europe. Personally, I'm going to try and get it at our local game store just because I think it's really cool to buy something like that physically. But if I can't get it there, I'm just going to buy the darn thing digitally because, yeah. I want a snack. I want a snack. Snack. I want to snack. Snack. Snacky, 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 snack. Tell me not to snack, but all I want to do is I want to uno stub gun, por favor? Dos stub gun, por favor. My Spanish is god-awful, but very few Spanish speakers here. Yeah, I actually, the area I live in is, actually has a very sizable Spanish-speaking population, which is why I took Spanish. And it does come up in my job, and while my Spanish is woeful, I can read it fairly well. Because I have time to work it out. Where I really stumble and fail is listening to native speakers speak, because my poor brain, I need them to, speak very, very slowly in order to hear me. But I always try to keep that in, So I'm certainly by no means bilingual. Wish I had. If I have one big regret in life, and if any of you are youngsters, learn another language. Now, many of you, if you're in Europe, which many of you are, this is very normal to you, and that's one of the things I really wish we would do here in the States, because there is so much research that says that learning a different language than your own just literally makes you smarter, literally makes your brain better at solving problems, and I really regret not keeping up with my Spanish and keeping it up as a second language, because, oh gosh, it would be so useful today, and also just so cool. It also would have let me read one of my favorite books in Spanish, which is the books of Gabriel Marquez, specifically 100 Years of Solitude, which is made into a mini-series you can find on different streaming services, and also 100 Love in the Time of Cholera. Wish I could read those in the original Spanish. New theme song. Yeah. I'm doing Krieg as Orlock Night now. Wait, so are you, by Krieg as Orlock, do you mean you are converting or painting Krieg models to use in Necromunda? Or are you painting Krieg models for 40k in the style of Orlock? Both of those are cool, to be very clear. I just got myself the new Defiler. Looking forward to putting it together. Yeah, that kit is divisive. I personally, I think the new kit is good. I like it, by the way, to be clear. However, I am a bigger fan of the more metal-y bits and the more robot guy bits than the fleshy bits. So if I had the chance, or if I had the wherewithal, I would absolutely be one of those people who puts armor plates over the middle. However, I don't think it looks bad. I just think I prefer my Chaos Monstrosity to be more metal. But that's because I'm not a big fleshy Chaos fan. That's just a me thing. I find the standard classroom structure is not a great fit for language acquisition. Oh, no. It's awful. It's awful here, too. If language classes are standard where you live, it's still something you have to pursue on your own. Yeah, unfortunately, that is the problem. I can only speak for here in the States, but as somebody who works in education, our teachers do the best they can, but unfortunately, the best way to learn a new language is to functionally be totally immersed in it, and that's really difficult to do. But thankfully, the one thing we've learned from that is, at least in the States, or at least in this state, in the States, we no longer put people who don't, if English language learners, students who like to learn English, we no longer segregate them into their own classes and stuff like that, because, as it turns out, that's not actually developmentally good for children. Turns out, fun fact, it's actually good to have lots of different kids of lots of different learning styles and abilities in the same place, and then they all get better at things. Who knew? Shocker. Anyway, I won't go on too many education-based rants here today, because I'll do that at work tomorrow. Summer's almost here. Just gotta get there. Okay, so I should paint his skin. I am really really not really coming around, really loving Topaz skin. I think is my favorite base skin tone. It's basically Bugman's skin, Bugman's flesh, Bugman's glow, sorry, but in a dropper. Secundus. So while they are waiting, gang activity is considered combat training and fundraising. That's funny. I like that. The reason I'm painting these guys up is we have picked our next campaign will be a Secundus campaign, and I need to get a gang going. And much to my shame, my Hive Scum gang is my only really fully painted game, and I don't want to mix the weird mechanics of Secundus with the weird mechanics of Hive Scum. Yep. Whoa. Everybody's wearing fingerless gloves. I saw an Escher gal doing the Bartman. Remember when Lonely Island was funny? I mean, I guess they're still funny, just I don't think Lonely Island exists anymore. I gotta admit, I don't know what Andy Samberg is doing anymore. Yeah, it's frustrating that telling kids just to go watch TV in their target language works better than most things. Yeah, it says a lot that when I took a semester of German in college, where things are a little more, like, at least my college was a little more advanced as far as educational theory, a lot of what that teacher had us do was just engage with media from Germany. So we watched Nosferatu in German. We watched a lot of Nina videos, music videos. Du hast du Farb viel vergessen. Da 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 da. Misha, mein Misha. Da 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 da. And of course, 99 Red Bull, 99 Luftballons. Now, my German is worse than my Spanish because I took a semester of German before I was like, this is harder than Spanish because I don't know it as well. So, but I did learn enough German to. And here's the thing: I have learned more German being on Discord servers with, like the folks one I'm on with Daniel Jenna here, where there are folks who speak German, and introducing me to those things than I ever did in a semester of German. I still don't speak it, but I can actually kind of muddle my way through reading it with some cross-referencing. Expose yourself to the new languages, and you will kind of learn them just because you want to. Every day for lunch we eat boiled goose. Have you decided who will be the main-straight antagonist? I am 99.99999% sure it's going to be Mitchell, because Mitchell loves Gene Stealers. I don't know that for certain, though. And Mitchell, if you ever watch this, which I don't think you will, but if you did, I don't mean to speak for you. But yeah, I would be shocked if it wasn't Mitchell, because Mitchell loves his Gene Stealers, and loves those male strain models. But we've got 8 people in our gang. However, we're not going to be starting for a while yet because there's a really big project we have to finish first. And that's all I'll say about that. Let's just say that now I hinted this actually, if you the only person who knows what it is Fiverr, because I spilled the beans on their Discord. But let's just say that us crossing 10K subscribers a while ago, thanks to all of you, by the way, unlocked a door for us in regards to acquiring something for a really big dream project we've had for a while as Necromunda players, and we are going to be executing it. But of course, we're not just going to do it off camera. Why do that when you can have some fun making content of it? And if you're on our Discord server, you've seen a spoiler picture that I have posted that you can probably guess what it is. So you'll have to join if you want to see what it is. But yeah, we've got a really big project to finish first before we do Secundus. I learned English over the summer in 7th grade by watching several seasons of Stargate. Oh, yeah. Just to be a killjoy, Secundus is my least favorite Munda setting. And that's fine. We're pretty much on record that we hate Ash Wastes as a setting, which a lot of people love. That's just our experience with it. And if we don't like it, we won't play it again. Hallelujah says something in Chinese. I'm assuming that's Chinese. Yeah, that's the characters are too dense to be Japanese. But I cannot read any Chinese. I can count to 5 in Chinese. 一二三四五 and I can say thank you, 谢谢. And that's about it. And I went to China. 5 second. Oh, that is Japanese? I'm sorry. Gosh darn it. I'm an ignoramus. I thought Chinese had the way more complicated characters and Japanese was the way more simple ones. But then again, I guess what is complicated and simple is entirely relative, huh? Oh, you know what? As I look at that closer, yeah, that's not. Okay, well. It says, I am learning Japanese currently. Cool. That's going to be hard. Are you using a program for that? Or are you like, how are you doing that? I have guess it was an excuse to finish painting my veteran guard. We're not playing it in a campaign yet, though. Yes, exciting stuff. How can the G-Sleuths be the antagonists? They are true believers. All hail the four-armed inferno. I mean, on Necromunda, you gotta fight the Cawdor for that title, in addition to all the usual Imperial people. Now, question for you in the chat. Jacket here. Black or brown? I kind of like the brown. Personally. I kind of like the brown leather jacket thing. His pants will be blue. So let's get his blue jeans. He's basically wearing blue jeans, which is kind of the joke and the point. Where's my nice blue jeans blue? The nice thing about blue jeans, and this is something I actually plan to do, is you can do a bunch of different blues, because blue jeans are never the same blue. Wish I could post pics here. Yeah, I don't even think YouTube has the ability to do that, right? However, if you go on to our free Discord, you absolutely can post pics. Uh-oh, this is clogged. Everyone bring out your favorite friend. It's stuck in my... There we go. Speaking of Japanese. Oh my gosh. It's Safety Pin Kun. Yay! Safety Pin Kun unclogs our bottles for us. I do not speak a lick of Japanese, besides the words that have entered American culture, like, you know. I'm trying to think of something. I couldn't. I like the brown. Japan uses the kanji character that are loosely shared with China. Kind of like a shorter hand, as I understand. I'm using Duolingo. Okay, interesting. Brown. Okay, I'll do what's brown. Zebra stripes for the leather mane with brown shoulder pads. Oh, yeah, sure. Let me get right on that. Zebra stripes. Get out. No, don't get out, but... Ooh, that's actually a little brighter than I thought. And that's a Army Painter Imperial Navy. Now, that will dry down, and we'll wash it, but... Well, you know, that's the nice thing about this is... I don't need to change it, because it doesn't have to be the same blue as everyone else. This can just be... Now, I haven't made my gang list yet, but it's a rare gang that I build that doesn't start out with a specialist with a grenade launcher. I think it's one of the most versatile things you can have, because, yeah, he hits on a 4, unless he's a Vansar. But you can upgrade that grenade launcher to have lots of different utility grenades, and the fact he hits on a 4 is less punishing, because, you know, it has scatter and blast, and if he does get a good shot, he can hit someone with a crack grenade. Yeah. Oh yeah, the Discord, yes. We do have a Discord. It is free. You only get kicked out if you're a bot or a Nazi, which we've had none of the ladders, thankfully, but lots of bots, but that's just, you know. I should get more Army Painter. Oop. The most wanted box has been very useful. Army Painter has become kind of my go-to paint, although I will say I consider it an equal to the Pro Acryls. Oh, this is the amp color, but there we go. I consider Army Painter and Pro Acryl to be my two favorite paints so far. They are very different. Army Painter is a little thicker. Well, not a little thick, a lot thicker. A little thicker. Not nearly as matte drying. Dries smoother, which can be good or bad, depending on what you want. But of course, I like the bottles a little bit better. Pro Acryl is way more fluid. Often covers even better despite being more fluid, which is astounding to me. And dry, and with the exception of their bottles, which are very clearly labeled as satin or gloss, dries very matte. Sometimes that matteness is a downside when I'm trying to use a wash, because sometimes Pro Acryls are so matte that they catch the wash differently. It's actually kind of amazing. But, to be clear, finish is something you can always modify with varnish, right? Like, many times, if I put down a pro acrylic and it's like, I want to wash this later, I'll put down a gloss varnish or a satin varnish on top of it, and boom, I get the best of all worlds. So, the only downside to the pro acrylics is I do not like these bottles, the ones here. I don't like those tips. That's why I replaced them with my flip tops, which Pro Acryl sells, but you can also get them really cheap on Amazon. The Oxford English Dictionary allowed 11 Japanese words last year. Link to the Discord, anyone? It is in the description of the video, Chase Waterman. Or maybe Valhalla Cody can get it for you. It is linked in the description of every video we have. I have the Sagunas box, so I suppose I should probably get one and use it on my Tekken play Vansar next. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm not playing Vansar, is that everyone else is going to be. It's gonna be a Vansar party. A Vansarty. I do forget, do incursion gangs have to have a preppy kid? Sorry, I'm blanking on the name. Spryer. Yeah. Do Sakuni incursion gangs have to have a Nepo baby? Isn't that the original Kodor colors? Is it? If so, that's kind of cool. I don't mind stealing other colors. My Goliath are blue too, because I think it looks cool on them. It's blanking the fact that I can only think of Japanese words that are either not appropriate to say right now, or things like wabi-sabi, which I'm not even sure is a real term. Get in there. Yeah. Get in there. There we go. Yeah, we're starting with Mr. Baldman Grenade Launcher. Because whatever else happens, he's going to have a place in my gang. Dollars to dimes. I'll get under there. There we go. Oop, off camera. There we go. Boop. I think the Fingo's gloves actually extend only over to there, so. So now I've got flipping boombox stuck in my head. So grab the boombox and hit the turbo bass. Everybody started painting minis. The music was way too powerful. A bunch of nerds painting Necromunda. It was inspiring to say the least. Whoa. Boombox can change the world. But you gotta know the limits of the boombox. Wabi Sabi is real. Okay, good. Ah, I just got the wrong paint. Almost just put blue on this guy, and he would be blue. Abu Dee Dabu Die. There's a song. There is some song I hear in the radio that is a remix, or it is sampling Blue by Eiffel 65. And most of the song isn't that, but they get to the chorus and it is da 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 da, and it throws me every time. It transports me back to the 90s when I think I was 7 when that song came out. I had that CD. I had the Eiffel 65 Europop CD. I liked a lot of the songs on there. Not just Blue. Okay, let's get a brown for the jacket. Ooh, that's a tough one. Now, here's the thing. I guess we could always... Let's just start with a dark brown because we could always lighten up, right? Like, we could always go lighter and just keep it as a shadow. So how far away is the Canadian campaign? 2 weeks from once? Great question. No idea. We've got a really big project ahead of us beforehand that we have never done before, or never done anything like it before. I suppose it is also possible that we might start playing Secundus before we finish that project. Specifically, the first half of the project, Secundus, doesn't require that project, but the second half definitely does, and then if we start Secundus without being ready, then we are putting a time limit on ourselves that we suddenly need to scramble. So I don't know. But we do want to do campaign diaries for it, because lots of people request those. don't know what form that will take. I am just off camera all day, every day today. Sorry. I do like this brown. This is Banshee Brown from one of the John and Blanche sets. All of which are complete winners. I did see the Army Painter has announced 2 new historical sets, one of which is like entirely unique colors. And as a sucker for historical colors, I'm almost undoubtedly going to get both of them, even though I will never paint the British 8th Army set. Or, no, wait, no. One of them was the Deutsche Afrika Korps, aka the Afrika Korps Germans, under Bad General Erwin Rommel. And the other is a Soviet set. And I will probably never paint Soviets or Deutsche Afrika Korps, but dang it, I'm going to get those sets because they got lots of cool colors in them. The internet needs more Munda bat reps. Are you doing your part? I'm doing my part. Hey, we've got one in the works. But it's the first one we've ever done, so it's going to take a while to edit because we got some, we got to learn how to do it, and we're not going to half butt it and put it out just to get it out. That is not our style. Hasn't been our style for a long time. And transitioning from that to what we do now, and I can say that because I am fairly certain I'm the only one who was involved with it then who is still involved now. So I can make fun of myself for doing it back then. I think has been a big part of why we started growing. Kind of abandoning the idea of just get stuff out there, just kind of do cheapo product reviews, just, hammer it out. We really abandoned that and kind of leaned more into the deep dives and the research and everything else, and then, Cody came on, and he does the same thing with his editing, and that really increased the quality, and then Mitchell, of course, came on, and he's very knowledgeable and loves to talk about it, and then eventually, much later, we got Kevin, and he's also very knowledgeable and loves to talk about it. We like to think that our niche is talking in depth about things and doing it to the highest standard we can. And we'll do that with our battle reports, too. Downside is, it won't be fast. At least not at first. Once we get better at it, like me getting better at being on camera, dang it. Sorry. It'll get faster. Stupid ads. I do have somewhere, speaking of Starship Troopers, I've got a Starship Trooper painted Cadian. I can't take credit for that, though. That scheme is entirely from a video by the good old Duncan Rhodes. One of the earlier videos he did when he started that. I highly recommend it. If you're just looking for a guard scheme, because it's a very interesting example of being, the Starship Troopers scheme does not have a lot of pop color to it, right? But he manages to make it very good looking and very interesting looking. I would not at all mind putting that army on a table. And I still, part of me still wants to. Because it was really cool, and I'm a fan of the grays and the boring paint schemes. This is the problem with Orlocks, to get in here and paint his little vesty. Little biker vest. Would help if I didn't, there we go, cover up my own X. I haven't actually watched Starship Troopers in probably, oh god, a decade. It's not a subtle movie. I know writers who use subtext, and they're all cowards, said Paul Verhoeven. The red in here. Guess I thought that was more hidden than it is. Oh well. It's the nice thing about paint. You just put it on, and it's fine. Ah, dang it. And then for the past few years, they put out really 3, 4. Yeah, apparently the one that just came out was actually pretty good. Although my understanding is the best Starship Troopers game remains Helldivers 2. Which, yes, I know is not officially licensed, but it's more or less the best Starship Troopers game. I think I might just need to move my camera.
It feels like the sweet spot of where my body wants to be and where the camera is pointing are two different things. So, after I get this coat down, might take a second. Just kind of fiddle. Okay, so if my camera wants to be here, sorry folks, 1 second. Okay, I think that's a little better. Let me replay with the focus real quick. No, focus. There we go. Now stay there. Don't move. Okay. There's a Starship Troopers animes? Oh my gosh. Ultimate Bug War was made by the same guys that made Warhammer Bolt Gun. That does not... Okay, that kind of makes sense why it's good then. Bolt Gun is pretty darn good. I haven't finished it yet. It's not easy. It's a hard Doom-like. It is not just a Doom-like in its stylings. It leans into being a Doom-like in its challenge, more approximating those original FPSs. Come on. Okay. I know, of course, they're making a Bolt Gun 2, starring a Sister of Battle, which is fantastic. And everyone's now shipping the Sister of Battle with the Space Marine, which is also funny. Give another pass to his jacket. And there's a 3D cartoon as well? Man, turns out there's a lot of Starship Troopers I didn't know about. Now, I do have to ask, does it understand the point of Starship Troopers? Like, is it doing the satire of, super fascism or whatever? Because if it's not, I'm not super interested. If it's missing the point entirely and it's just bug actions, like, I can get that from a lot of places, I could have figured out so we could put on his little collar there. I mean, does the book? No, but we don't, and that's why we don't read the book. The book is weird. Not in a good way. I would argue that the book has functionally no cultural relevance outside of leading to the movie. It's not a seminal science fiction work. I don't think it really influenced people greatly. I don't think it had a lot that was, like, particularly influential on the world or the themes in it or anything like that. It was just kind of like him writing a weird book about his weird fetishes or whatever, and weird political thoughts, and then Paul Verhoeven was like, "Ooh, you know what? Bug action, Monster League, and stuff like that." Oh, absolutely, yeah. As long as it's not unironic. It's like when Warhammer, Warhammer needs to understand that the Space Marines and the Imperium is not actually good guys, right? The point of Warhammer is there are no good guys. Everyone is evil. Everyone is terrible. The goodest guys are the orcs, and they're still awful. They're just having a lot of fun while they do it, right? When the Imperium, when 40K media starts unironically saying, no, the Imperium is a good thing, and everybody being crushed into dust beneath the wheels of this terrible, terrible machine is a good thing because it's humanity. That's not what 40K should be. That's not the point. The point is that humanity is functionally doomed and has doomed itself by its own actions, and now it's dying. Everything we are seeing in 40K is the death throes of humanity. They deserve it, death throes of humanity. At least on the part of everybody in charge. You can say that, individuals are okay and just trying to survive or whatever, but when you start asking me to identify with the Imperium as a force of good, and it's like, no. No. Not the point. Age of Sigmar can kind of do that a little differently, although Age of Sigmar also kind of leans into the grimdark. But it still, posits, like, the cities have their problems, but they are still, at the end of the day, good people. The dwarves have their problems, but at the end of the day, they're still kind of good people. Morathi's not, though. She's awful. Yeah, the lore video on Morathi go out early. Once again, I often said if I wanted to get another Age of Sigmar army, I would get Daughters of Cain. I just really like those snake ladies. I like the snake part more, honestly. But I can stand an elf when it's on. I thought Starship Troopers was an American documentary. It wasn't when it was written. Are you saying Warhammer's not aspirational? Well, I mean, Speed Freaks is. Speed Freaks is absolutely aspirational. Just get in your car and drive. Maybe not everything else. I think there was a universe in which they could have stuck to the Tau being the good guys. Of course, the point there would have been that they are hopelessly outclassed and hopelessly naive and doomed to fail as well. But there is a universe in which they could have stuck to that and they could have worked. However, they very quickly needed to make that grimdark as well, so it becomes a different sort of totalitarianism. A chemical-based pheromone totalitarianism or whatever. Which is fine. It's whatever. Okay, so we've got the red, we've got the blue. I don't know what color I want for his little sash here. It could be red. It could also be white, which I think is what I had on one of these guys. I had it as like a dirty white rag. But first, let's fill in his boots. So we're going to get a lot of black here now. Or rather, something approximating black. Where did my ironclad or my strap gray go? There we go. Strap gray. It's strap colored. It's a bureaucratic nightmare, yeah. Too big to fail and too big to succeed, right? It's you know. A bureaucracy whose only purpose is to sustain its own existence and will sacrifice any and all towards that end. Which, you know, difficult to talk about without getting into real life stuff that I don't want to get into because that's not the purpose of this stream. Not that it's not important. It is important. You should engage in your life and local politics and all that good stuff. But not here because half of you aren't even local to me. By half of you, I mean most of you. I think Cody is the only one. I think that might need to be a little darker to start with. I've often said I don't like putting pure black down on the boots, but that might not be dark enough. Yeah, the nids are also just there to have a good time and eat things. Nope. I'm in that funny country north of you, land of poutine and maple syrup. I do like maple syrup. I do know a fair few Canadians. I think there are a lot of Canadians in this hobby for the same reason there's a lot of Midwesterners in this hobby, which is that about 6 months out of the year, it's miserable to go outside. So you stay inside and paint things. Oops, I need more water in my wet palette. 1 second. There we go. The edges are starting to pull up. Okay. Slurp, slurp, slurp. There we go.
Okay, smoothing out my wet palette. There we go. Don't need my stuff drying. I think it's dry outside today because the heat was on again because it was actually like only 40 degrees out. Okay. Where'd I go? Where'd you go? Well, you know, I was gonna paint everything in strap gray. Avoiding politics, who would you vote for? A Van Sar party or a Redemptionist party run by an Orlock wrecker? Hold on. Because, like, the run by a wrecker is, it kind of throws a wrench in that. I guess it would depend on, okay, I'm assuming I'm putting myself in the, because there's that one hive in Necromunda that is, they kind of go a different direction with the parody where it's like crippled by democracy. They go for the every little thing is voted on constantly and it's used to basically nothing ever gets done because every citizen is voting all the time. Which I think they're trying to parody something. I don't think they know what they're trying to parody. But I'm assuming I'm putting myself in the shoes of a... If I'm putting myself in the shoes of a Necromunda citizen, I would probably go for the Redemption because of Imperial Faith connections. I don't know, like... Van Sar would not be very popular because they're kind of weird and they have tech that they're not sharing, right? If I'm not Van Sar, it would be difficult to get me to vote for Van Sar because I know that they don't like anybody who isn't them. The Redemption is, on the other, I mean, it's an evil, you know, everyone has to be worship us or be purged type thing. But at least you can get in on that, right? As opposed to Van Sar, just like, well, thank you for being our tech slave. We're gonna be over here doing other things. You keep dying, and you know. A favorite record wanting to go unstable all the time makes sense with the Redemptionist. Yeah. I assume that wrecker, you know, jumped onto a ridge hauler, set off their demolition pack, and somehow managed to survive, and the resulting head wound has given them desires of godhood. Or, you know, either directly or by proxy. Okay, it's got big old black boots. The lock is running all behind the scenes anyway, right? Yeah, that is literally what, yeah, they basically control that one hive because they just always are rigging the votes and everything. If you're in the United States, it is Mother's Day. Call your mom. Unless you don't like her, in which case don't. I'm not your mom. I can't tell you what to do. I like my mom, though, so I took her to breakfast this morning. And my grandma. Hanstar probably has more money to live for advertising. Carter have the grassroots collection of every street corner has a Carter screaming themselves hoarse with skin. Yeah, that might be like a... They've got the money, but... I think on the next one I'm going to try painting the other leathers also brown and see if that's... if I like that more. I'm worried about over-browning. But, on the other hand, I'm also worried about, like, having too many colors, and also is the black leather conflicting with the brown leather. Boombots can change the world. I still got that song in my head. Yeah, my wet palette's very dry. Today, I don't know why.
Friend thought one of the Orlocks heads had a banana and painted his bald head last night with light skin tone, so he looks like he got a bandana scalp sunburn. Are there any computer games that run like Tabletop Necromunda? Difference is acceptable. Well, there is literally a Necromunda Underhive Wars, which is kind of like the tabletop game. I don't think it's particularly good. Sorry, focusing. I think it's a little janky. Otherwise, probably the closest thing would be something like Mechanicus or XCOM. Speaking of which, they announced they're making an XCOM miniatures game, and I'm like, A, finally, we've been joking about that for years. And B, I am looking forward to it. I do wonder if the success of the StarCraft miniatures game has emboldened them. Saw the video title, shouted Heresy, and now we're here. Hi. Yep, it's red. They're red Orlock. Hey, they do have blue on them. Blue pants. Yeah, Underhive Wars is multiple skirmishes and jank. That's a great way to describe it. Doesn't really have the campaign aspect. Yeah, if you want the campaign aspect, honestly, XCOM is probably like the premier one. Where it's about, positioning and cover and getting your guys different skills and abilities and quirks, right? That's XCOM. And I personally love XCOM a lot. Both XCOM 1, XCOM 2, the old XCOMs are good. I really liked Chimera Squad, even if it is about, a different theme. But that one's more character driven. Like, all of your guys are specific characters who are already have their own thing and their own upgrades. So that one's A, much shorter, B, character-driven, but also C, much, much cheaper. That being said, XCOM 2 with its War of the Chosen regularly goes on sale. So if you've never played an XCOM and you like Necromunda, I highly recommend it. If you have played XCOM and liked it and want something else that's also Warhammer-themed, I highly recommend Mechanicus, of which they're making a 2. And also has an absolutely banger soundtrack. $200+ mods, yeah. Will have to be an iPad game like the XCOM Tabletop. God, I hope not, because A, you can't play that anymore. So I hope they learned their lesson. The thing is, the XCOM Tabletop was not player versus player. It was cooperative. And if you're doing cooperative, you either have to write out very lengthy steps for the AI, or you just do it on an iPad. And I kind of get why they went for that. I think that was not the wrong choice at the time, although its eventual fate is an example of why that's not a good choice now. Posted a Necro Rundown. Thank you. I will look at it. Unfortunately, I can't look at it until later. XCOM is about how many times you can miss a 90% shot. Yes. I have that company's Elder Scrolls tabletop game, and I'll enjoy it. So a couple of my friends and I will get the XCOM ones. That's Elder Scrolls Call to Arms. I did like Call to Arms. I just did not have the wherewithal to get into it, which is weird because I'm like the biggest Elder Scrolls mark in the world. But I couldn't quite get into Call to Arms. It just didn't. The gameplay just didn't quite grab me, which is fine. Not everything has to. Okay. This right here. This waist rag. I don't know what I want to do with that. Let's try putting it in white, okay? Let's try that and see what happens. So let's start with a gray to get it started. Let's start with a gray to get it started, says Josh. Saying something very stupid. Then your allied snake with oh wait, I messed that up. Yeah, allied snake with a rocket launcher can fight against the hot raiding party. Yes, I had my favorite XCOM mod was the one where all your rookies had these hats, which was the Pokemon Kulava, but it was covering their eyes. so it excused for them being terrible shots. Lost or replaced with orcs. XCOM has just 1 or 2 enemies, but the enemy doesn't level up. I'm looking for more. This one is more gang versus gang. Gotcha. That one's way harder. That one's way harder. Yeah, I don't know of any games like that. I don't know if anybody else has it in the chat. Tabletop Sim to play Necromunda online. Sure, but Tabletop Sim, I could understand why someone wouldn't want that either. It was a neat idea, and the implementation wasn't bad, but was obviously run into the issue of eventual end of support eventually, even back then. Yes. Yeah, Duke Musi, you are right. However, I completely understand what Anachron's saying and what they're going for, and yeah, I get it's not quite the same. Because I think if you're looking for gang versus gang, that is a very different vibe than what XCOM is. And I love XCOM and its vibe. Same problem with Mechanicus. Like, if you want your enemies to be like persistent, I guess the big thing is, are you looking for PvP or PvE? I don't have answers for either of them, but I imagine doing that in PvP would be far easier. Dr. Drybrush says checkerboard. Dr. Drybrush is the demon of not bad painting ideas, because they're not bad ideas. The demon of telling you to paint things that are way too difficult for you to paint. It's my difficult painting intrusive thoughts demon. Empire of Sin? Oh, interesting. John Romero made that. Oh no, does that mean he's going to make you his wench? Or something? I'm trying to think of what Chicago people would use as a effeminate slur, but then I realized I don't care what they use. I don't want to be shouting effeminate insults at people online. Well, is it better than Daikatana? To which I'm assuming the answer is, well, how could it not be? Daikatana. Has anyone ever done a parody of Daikatana sung to the tune of My Sharona? I feel like that's an easy one. Ooh, my little broken game. Broken game. John Romero made a game called Daikatana. Also, did you guys do your Yes, we did. We filmed the Necromunda races. It is in editing. It will take a bit to edit because it is a long video. I mean, it was only like 90 minutes, but, you know, that's still a fairly sizey video, and we gotta, like, you know, that is the problem with battle reports, is that they are not easy to edit. They take time. Especially when you do what we did and make it a 4-person battle report. Which, maybe we shouldn't have done that, but, it was way too fun not to. And I don't regret it, because that was really fun. Die, katana! Does it actually play well? Also fully on board with how long game reports take. Yes, we had a lot of fun. Now, do I think that's going to be a game mode that's going to replace Necromunda first? No. And you probably get bored playing it over and over and over again. But it plays very well. It is designed well. They made the right decisions to design it in a way that, like, actually utilizes Necromunda's game mechanics in a way that is fun and interesting, while also doing something different that isn't just it's not just Ash Wastes, right? And, you know, especially considering it is a free Apocrypha Necromunda that's just kind of thrown out there. I think I can unequivocally say it's the best Apocrypha they've ever released. I'm still waffling over my post-battle trading post-action. 150 creds and a free ganger to equip. Let me see. Ganger, 150 creds. Depends on what gang. I mean, you can't go wrong with mesh armor, armored undersuit. You know, depending on what gang you have. High tier basic weapons include things like the bolter. Or if you want to make him more melee focused, 150 credits will definitely let you afford some of the nastier melee weapons in the game. Yeah, he's only got 1 attack, but you give him 2 of them, and he's got 2 attacks, and then you charge. That's 3 attacks. And 3 attacks with a decent melee weapon will almost undoubtedly kill most things. Will it transfer to a Sun Price? Yes, you could absolutely transfer it to a Sun Price. With not a lot of tweaking. I need to get the strap in. I always hate this part. I gotta get the strap in here painted. Now, the nice thing is I really only have to get it black, and then you can ignore it because it's completely behind everything else. And no one's going to see it. And I am nothing if not a follower of don't paint what people don't see. Don't waste your time. Okay. Plasma gun, Primus campaign, army territory for half the price gun, or Thunderhammer. If he's a basic ganger, he won't be able to wield a plasma gun. Because a plasma gun is a special weapon. I mean, depending on what gang you have, there are some guys who have different rules. But most basic gangers can't have a plasma gun. I've got that song stuck in my head. Except me being me, it's neither my Sharona nor Necromunda nor Dai Katana. It's my Bologna from the inimicable Weird Al Yankovic. I had to pick a favorite artist. GC as well, Space. Okay, yeah, so yeah, if your GSC, yep, special weapons are in like flint. You are good to go on that one, and yes, I cannot argue with the power of a plasma gun. Plasma gun is one of those things where I have to stop myself from doing nothing but equipping plasma guns because I love them. Or Corpse Grinder cults. We don't talk about Corpse Grinder cults and their gun options on their gangers because. All right, so now that I've got the black down, putting the strap gray over the black means that it will actually kind of be the darkness I want it to be. I gotta think about what I want to do with this little pack he's got here. Probably want to paint it a slightly different shade of brown, but on the other hand, I probably just will paint it the same shade because this is just a ganger at the end of the day. I mean, he's my specialist, but meh, he's just a ganger. Right, like this is not the time to put the hours in. This is the time to get it painted and get it done. I got a lot of these guys to paint before whenever we start this campaign. I could give him brown gaiters over black shoes, but I'm not going to do that. Ooh, I hope I don't run out. Don't run out. If I do, I'm sure that I'll miss Bologna. Never gonna stop. Eat it up. But I always eat too much and throw up. But I'll soon be back for my. Woo! The new player in the game is running Corpse Grinder cults. Trying to tell him his Juvies have everything as an option, but he wants to keep them on for pair weapons. Which I fully agree with. Like, it's kind of weird. Corpse Grinder cults and their Juvies having access to basically everything. It's not a glitch and it's not an exploit to use it. I really want to be clear on that one. Using that does not make you like a bad player or a bad person. Because it is written that way. And I think it is kind of intentional. But I totally get that for theming, going into pure melee is fun. So yeah, as Fedorovsky says, or Federal Shelfsky says, respect to him for that. Yeah, like now is he taking a harder road? Yes, and as a new player, sometimes that might be a bad thing. But Necromunda, you kind of got to make your own fun, right? More like Necrofunda. Ah, dang it. Do you employ your editor full time, per hour, per video? I actually don't know the answer to that question. I don't employ anybody. Our editor, who is Cody, is on the same rank as me, which is we work here. We have our producer. That is a him question. First time you got my last name right. Yeah, sorry. To be fair, in my defense, I am looking at my phone because I can't get my computer screen over here. Which is why if you post something in the Discord, I can't. All Chefsky. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, Chefs. Yeah, because the V and the yeah, that makes sense. Because yeah, I can't get my Discord over here. Which is why if you post something in the Discord, I can't like look at it right now. I can only look at it after the stream, which I promise I will. Although not immediately after the stream because Mitchell and I record immediately after the stream. That's when we record the Sunday Preview Rundown, which is the Cities of Sigmar, a.k.a. the Cogfort, a.k.a. Marnius Calgar and Cogfort armor. Okay, this is coming together. Let's get some white on his... Can I go right up to my end goal? Because my end goal is going to be this Brigade Gray, which I know on camera right now it just looks white. And it is, basically. Now, this rag, of course, is going to be very dirty, because what this functionally is, and what it's meant to be, and this I know this because they actually had a designer's commentary on this, I believe, back when the Orlocks first came out, and you can find it, is this is the equivalent of a mechanics rag. So those mechanics rags that you see around shops, which probably means it should be red, but he's already got red on him, and you know how it goes. Realism takes a backseat to aesthetic when we're painting models. I thought minis were done with my channel. Nope, I am only... it is a team effort between the 4 of us at this point. We are all equals. And there are no first among equals. At the end of the day, we have our producer, Mark. He's the one who actually, made the channel ages ago. And, more importantly, he's the one who, got the equipment for the channel and, all that good stuff. So I guess, the most distinctly way I could put it is he's the one who took the risks. Now, we have very, very, very... I don't think we've ever had a problem over anything that you would call creative control problems with our producer. He is very supportive and very helpful and very involved in gaming and stuff as well. He's just not a on-camera guy. It's not his love, Looks like a chef's dish towel. Yeah, I mean, basically. This is probably going to end up as a color more like a chef's dish towel because... Now, I don't know if this is true everywhere, but here in the U.S., mechanics rags, there's, always the same. And they're that one red rag that you get, that grease rag. And everyone's got them, and they're all the same. I don't know if they're, all made by one company or something. If there's, a monopoly on them. Is the gang's field slopper? Well, they're all going to have this color. I really like this color scheme. It doesn't look good right now because it's not tied together with a wash. We're going to do that in a second. But first, I need to get his little bandana. A lot of those links in your channel are dead links or unused. Oh, thank you. I will go through those. Yeah, that is something we haven't honestly checked for a while. Yeah, a lot of the sister channels aren't there anymore because they just petered out or didn't quite, or the folks who were working on them moved on. All the affiliate links below, that is our producer is a giant tech nerd. Like, he loves playing with tech, right? Like, that's his thing. That's actually kind of why the channel originally started, is he just wanted to get those things together and use them, because that's what his passion is tech and making things work and all that good stuff. And he's very good at it. So I have no idea what most of those things even mean. I'm gonna be honest with you. I am learning the basics of it as I stream from home now. The microfiber towel or the orange soap scratchy towel? Scratchy towel. Scratchy towel is what I'm thinking of. Yes. Yeah, we'll have to run through the links again if they're dead. Okay. So this would be a good time for his strap here to be probably blue. So let's get some of the same blue on him. Nope, black. Needs to be black. So you can't fire Mitchell if he beats you with his gun? Absolutely not. I can't fire nobody. Plus, I would never want to fire Mitchell. A, I'd have to do a bunch more work, and B, he's my friend. Okay, so the sheath, leather sheath is going to be the same strap gray as everything else. So that I'm not worried about. Got a metal edge on there that we'll do later when we do our metallics. There we go. Get that in there. Probably gonna have to go back between there. There we go. Okay. Shop rag. Yeah, shop rag is what I'm thinking of. Well, because there's a brand of like blue paper, like they're kind of they're kind of like really high-end paper towels called shop rags, and they're like those blue things, which I use heavily for 3D printing. But I'm not thinking that. Cody says lore dump. Yeah, there's the lore dump. Bigger social media idea we have channels for all things tabletop. That's Game Talk Network. All the other channels kind of fizzle out. But you know, only for now. They may come back someday. So yeah, when you see the Game Talk Network logo, that's what that is. It's a omni thing for a big family of channels. And there was some crossover at some point. Like, for example, when the Magic the Gathering, there is a I don't know if they're still going or not. I haven't checked, honestly, because I don't keep up on I don't keep up on trading card games. But there's our cards channel. I am blanking. MTG Rundown, thank you. When the Magic the Gathering set came out, we did a crossover on that, and unfortunately it got murdered by technical difficulty. Which is a shame, because it was really fun to talk. I guest starred on that, because the two Magic guys who did that, one didn't really care about Warhammer, because it's not their bag, which is totally fine, but of course I love Warhammer, but I don't really care about Magic the Gathering too much. So I went on there and blabbed about Warhammer to them, and learned a lot about the color combinations of Warhammer, or of Magic the Gathering, and how they tie thematically into certain things, and was like, oh yeah, that makes sense for, Imperium being blue, black, white, where it's about control and tokens. So it's like, okay, control and making lots of guys. Well, that's the Imperium, all right. Or Necrons being pure black made perfect sense. But Kellenmore card was sick. I do have that deck. I do have the Warhammer Imperium deck. There's the only one I bought. I bought more than one originally, but then the Necrons deck went up in price so dang much that I just sold it online for like $20 more than I bought it. Because it came out and then it like skyrocketed like $100. Because I guess it was really good. And I was like, well, you know what? This is really cool to have, but I don't actually play Magic, so someone else can have this for $100. I also have the Fallout decks, and those are just sitting in a box somewhere. And maybe they'll be worth money someday, or maybe not. But if they're not, who cares? I like Fallout, so I don't ever buy anything to try and speculate. I'm not any good at that. There we go. We've got his an incentive, some sort of incentive for the players of the campaign. Like last place has to do editing, first place gets promoted to become our champion. The problem is that well, I think Kevin might also know how to edit, but and Mitchell does light editing too. He edits the Sunday rundowns. I do not know how to edit well. I am a very bad editor. When I do, you can tell when I edit the Sunday rundowns because they the quality drop is palpable. Let's just say that. They get a lot more basic really quickly. And also, I think if Cody knew that we would edit the campaign videos, if we lost, he would just start throwing games, so he didn't have to put up with us editing the campaign videos. He'd be like, "No way am I letting you schmucks ruin this." Time to break out the web guns. Everyone loves web guns. Play to win, destroy the channel. Nope. We are firm believers that the incentive of winning Necromunda is the fun of Necromunda. So you could not pay me to like try and play a Necromunda game with actual stakes, with like real life stakes. Not in a million years. Because A, too much random crap happens. Yeah, the shop towel blue papers rags, those are the ones I'm thinking of. They do make them in white as well. And I guess that's what this is. This is a shop towel. I mean, what it is just, it's a piece of cloth that's just meant to evoke that, right? But I was thinking more, if I was painting Orlocks in a scheme that wasn't using... So, for example, let me grab the guys in green. See the guys in green here? If you look at his shop rag, it's that red. And that's those grease-catching rags the oil rags that you use. That's what that was meant to evoke. Yeah, we use those all the time. Or I use those all the time in my other work. Okay, I'm going to get a different brown for this. What have I got? What have I got? What have I got? What have I got? Leather brown? I've got bootstrap brown. Bootstraps. He is walking by his footsteps. What? His footsteps. Oh. Sorry, that's a Young Frankenstein reference. One of my favorite movies. Super chat from Sky Shield for $10. Thank you. Excuse me, sir. That man is not wearing his union-approved blues. Hey, his pants are. His pants are blue. It's fine. I know how OSHA works. Ah. How do you... Thank you very much, Sky Shield 584. I really appreciate that. And like, there is part of me, I might paint a guy with just like full Orlock colors, blue colors, because I do like that color scheme. In some dark corners of the world, people play Necromunda for pink slips. Now I'm picturing, like the first Fast and Furious movie, where they race for pink slips. I'm picturing that, but Necromunda. It's Paul Walker telling that one guy, dude, don't play him. He's got like 10K in his gang. Necromunda's about family. Orlock is the type of house to have unions in Necromunda. I mean, kind of. They are the, they are kind of a joke on, like, Teamsters, which is the, the Do you use a hanger-on to be the OSHA guy? Yeah, it's a guy in a hard hat and a high-vis vest. And he walks up to you and he's like, not OSHA approved, and you lose your ready token as you file a form. So basically, he's the guy from Trench Crusade, the Inquisitor, who runs around and just like tells people they're sinful and then like, slows them down. Let's go for leather brown for the pack there, by the way. Tokyo Dominion, Fast Ice and Furious Felonids. Ooh, there you go. I mean, we are definitely like there is absolutely going to be a racing episode called, Wheels of Fury 3 Palanite Drift or something like that. So this is way too light currently, but when we wash this, it will get much, much, much better. There is so much detail in this guy. I was like, oh, I'm going to wash this guy soon. I don't think I'm going to wash this guy soon, folks. I haven't even gotten to the flippin' grenade launcher yet. Man, it's just a lot of detail on this guy. Which is fine. Wheels of Fury, Cargo 8, Crash Outs. There you go. Hi, local team members here. I drive buses for Disney. Speaking of, time to go get ready to work. Well, thank you for joining Sky Shield. I should note that Teamsters in real life are a good organization as opposed to the Orlocks. At the very least, they don't enslave people. Thank you for joining, and thank you for the chat. We really appreciate it. And have fun driving buses for Disney. My uncle's a bus driver, not for Disney. He's just been a school bus driver for 50 years. Orlock Security and Handling Adjudicator. There you go. I mean, the reality is that an OSHA inspector on, because you got to remember, it's the worst interpretation of all of this, right? So the OSHA inspector on Necromunda would just be some guy who is like scamming people for their money and saying, well, like, oh, you're not OSHA approved. It's like, what the heck does that mean? It means you give the House Helmore money or you get raided by the Palanites. The end. Right? Because real life OSHA is very important because it's why people don't die. Remember, the red in red tape is red with blood. And there is no rule that exists in OSHA handbook. Every rule that exists in OSHA is because somebody broke it and got hurt. Visha on the Discord. Oh, okay. I know you. Well, thank you, Visha. Or Skyshield. I don't know which one you prefer to be called. You'll have to remind me, because every time I read your name, it's going to reset my brain. Ooh, if you make a racing bat, we do a voiceover. We thought about that. We decided for this one to just, we narrate it as we went. We did think about doing that, but it actually ends up being way more work. My GSC gang is all union members. We named them all after the stevedores and dock crews from The Wire. Yeah, there you go. Which, I mean, there is a... we are not getting into politics here. There is a reading of Gene Stealer cults as a fear of labor uprising, right? That Games Workshop has leaned into, like, with some of their, descriptions of some of those things. Like, the Kellermorph is a cynically designed hero to appeal to the masses. Right? And of course the idea that, they're uprising for fight for better working conditions, but they're just slaves to an all-alien power that's going to eat them all, which is I'm pretty sure that's something a Union Buster has said at one point to me. Okay, so. Let's get that there. But real life unions don't have to deal with giant eating aliens, so kind of a different story. Okay. Now we gotta do all the metallic details, and this part's gonna be a giant pain in my entire butt. The only theme gang I have is my Escher, or the Doki Doki Alchemical Club. You've mentioned those. I remember that. I did like them. I have no
I have no familiarity with Doki Doki Literature Club, but I know of it. I know it exists. Visha, I'm thinking of figuring out how to change my name. Okay, there's a way to do it. I don't know how. But someone did it. I watched someone on Fiverr's stream do it yesterday, so there is a way. But I have no clue how. Oh, good God, Alma. Alucard kicking. The Tyrannies really get in the way of the direct relationship the workers have with the Imperium. Yeah, they're many smarter people than I have written much about the way real life politics interweaves the with 40k. Like, I mean, there's the fact that like Gazgul Faka is a joke on Margaret Thatcher from the 80s, and like, but does that really mean that everything that Gazgul does is an attempt at parody of Margaret Thatcher? No, they just thought it was funny. And there's a lot you could write with that, but I have not done the research, so I'm not going to open my mouth about it. A, and B, I'll leave that to people who are like actually good at that kind of thing, because I'm not. And I think sometimes the world could use more people who are not good at things and maybe know they haven't done the research to not talk about it. This is AK Interactive Gunmetal. I don't really like buying AK stuff because of the weird crap they do with their... To be fair, it's very funny. Oh, no, it is funny, and that's the point, right? That's Original Chase in Discord, by the way. Okay, so, Original Chase. Excellent. That does make sense. At least it's in the name. Commentating while playing works, but if it tends to make bat resonancy, you'll be mixed narration with idle chatting, makes it harder to follow. That is very true, and I have a feeling that will be something we learn from this. Cody will also spend some time, like, cutting it out. I have a major problem with that, where I am someone who incessantly blathers during gaming. But thankfully, Cody can just isolate my mic and go boop, and Josh's stupid commentary on whatever's going on doesn't disappears for a second. That's why I'm good at solo streaming. I can fill the void with incessant blather. They really get that working under wraps well. Quotas are always met on time. Workplace injuries non-existence. No complaints. No one takes time off. Nothing suspicious, which is the most suspicious, right? Which by itself is kind of funny. Now, this is what I like about Necromunda, is that I can afford to kind of waste time doing all these details, because at the end of the day, I only got to paint like 5 or 6 or 7, well, probably 10 of these guys, right? Whereas when I do my guard, I will not be doing that. The bother's fine, the dull roars. Yep, that's okay. And at least until I figure out how to do music, I got to fill the space somehow, right? And it's really bad that, and this is a flipping callback, but the only song I can think of to just sing, like, to do incessant music is the theme tune from the Slaughtering Grounds. If you remember that whole saga with the Steph Sterling, back then called a different name, from the Jimquisition, where they got sued by a video game company for giving them a bad review, and that game had a terribly looping dum bum 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 ba da da dum bum. It was like that for like the entire time. God. A different era. Oh, they're talking about StarCraft in our group chat. So if you're a fan of StarCraft, be assured, content is coming. Because everyone except me is excited for it. I have nothing against Star Trek.
Star Trek. I have nothing against Star Trek either. I have nothing against StarCraft. I've played it. It is a good game. It's just not my kind of game. I bounced off it kind of. So I have no interest in the tabletop game, which is fine. You don't have to, right? Like, you can not like games and not have it be a reflection of them. But they're divvying up who's doing what faction. So yeah, rest assured that means we're serious about it. So some stars and craft. Now, if they ever release minis that are the Carbot style of StarCraft, oh, I'm there for that. My entire knowledge of StarCraft comes from Carbot videos. I've never checked out Carbot's videos on StarCraft. They are wonderful. Oops, forgot the little thing here. And there we go. Okay, his straps are also metal, so we'll tap those there. With the understanding they'll get washed later and we'll have to untap or retap them. Not like Magic Tap, though. Tap Tap Concede. Is Tap Tap Concede the name of a Loading Ready Run show? I think it is, right? There's this metal plate back here, which is important because it gives visual entrance and breakup to this sea of, you know, the jacket color on the back. Yes, okay, it is Tap Tap Concede is Loading Ready Run. All right, I thought so. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't watch a lot of the Loading Ready Run Magic content, which is ironic because it's like their main thing. If you're not familiar with Loading Ready Run, there's a good 50% chance that any joke I make is stolen from one of their crap shots. So, all right. Besides the gun, what else? Oh, right, the goggles, the gogglies, the googlies. Gotta get the goggles in. I actually bought a speed paint last night for doing the goggles, so I am prepared. There we go. Now, a lot of thematic is a lot of a lot of every inspired, which is super ironic for 40K, right? Like the game where Abominable Intelligence is so incredibly played out, but yet people are using it to write the music. We at Miniatures Rundown are not fans of AI anything. Alright, I do need to get another strap color for the various bits and straps on here, for which I am going to use the same dark brown, so it is consistent. If you want thematic 40K music, though, just the Dark Tide soundtrack is what you should look for, because it is fantastic. The Dark Tide soundtrack and the Mechanicus soundtrack are both stellar. I'm probably doing this. I do not need to be doing what I'm doing right now. I do need to be doing it on a camera, though. But differentiating between straps on that, that is not necessary. I should not be doing it. I'm going to stop doing that. I'll get this one down here, but Not again. Not on a ganger. Okay. Got those. I need to redo that real quick. Where'd it go? Where'd my color go? There it is. Fix that. Boop. Fix that. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Fix that. Boop. It's on the... Dang it. That's actually okay. Because that'll get... Here we go. It'll dry in there. Okay. Oh, I probably should metal up the plates on his... Dang it! Grumble, grumble, grumble. Now, on a leader or champion, those would absolutely be brass colored for the brass colored knuckles joke. On grenade launcher McGee here, no. Not going to bother. Not going to bother getting out another accent paint. That kind of thing is where you... Now, for the goggles, unfortunately, if I want the contrast paint to work, I got to get in here with some white. Which in reality means I'm just going to get in here with some white, make a giant mess of things, and then redo the edges. Well, now it looks very silly. But that's okay. Now, the gun. I'm never good at this, so give me an opinion if you have one. Do I make the gun very standard gun black, or do I paint it metallic? Because I could never figure that out which one looks better. Obviously, in real life, guns are always painted some kind of color so they don't corrode, but this is the Underhive, so my opinion is that he would just be as equally likely to just have stolen or cobbled together a grenade launcher that has no paint on it. We're going to go with metallic for now. I'm going to get a different metallic. What have I got? What have I got? Gun metal? Nope. That's what I'm using right now. Idiot. Okay. London Calling. Dun, 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 dun. Natural steel. Metal. I've got this color that's just called metal from World of Tanks, apparently. Oh gosh, that's not shaking at all. Hold on. And to employ the... Ew, is this even gonna work? Yeah? He says, questioningly. Probably. Pink gun. Hey, that's Dr. Drybush's job to make terrible decisions about paint colors. Oh, that is, Ooh, that is thick with 2 C's and has no coverage. Oh, okay. Well, no, alright, that's not too bad. Well, okay, Okay, coverage is actually okay. But I can see those pigments from space. That's okay, this gun will just be like that. It's a nice thing about Necromunda. If the gun looks like crap, it's not a complete disaster. But, ugh, this is not a, this is not a color I'm liking. Get in there. Get in. There we go. Yeah, this is not a... Well, okay, the color's fine. I'm not liking the paint. You know how some of those metal paints are just really goopy? This is one of them. We're going to paint the drum cylinder a different color, which, again, in real life would not be the case. You don't paint the magazines a different color, usually, unless you're East German Cold War soldiers. They had Bakelite magazines that were painted like this reddish brown. You guys know what Bakelite looks like. You've seen it in movies and stuff. I would love to paint like a Bakelite colored gun, but I don't have the colors for it. I'm hoping it'll be in like an Army Painter set someday. Let's grab the handle there. Now for the cylinder, we're going to do something very silly and make it brass or bronze, which you already said, like, wait, didn't you just say you're not doing that for the gloves? Correct, and I'm not. We're going to make it evil chrome. Ooh, look at that. So evil, this chrome. But when we're painting the gun, it's entirely this one metal color. I think it is very important to break up that silhouette. Break it up a little bit, because otherwise it's going to be this giant, boring block of steel, which really does monopolize the majority of the Mini's interest space, because he's holding it in front of him. It's brightly colored, or at least it is now. It won't be later once I dirty it the heck up, and of course I will be dirtying this the heck up, because, you know, it's a Necromunda weapon. Fortunately, Evil Chrome does not have a good colors coverage. Get under there. Get. There we go. I might need to get some of my silver and put it down over this flesh down here and have the brass cover the silver rather than try and layer the brass a billion times, because otherwise it's never gonna... Yeah, so we'll have to wait for that to dry. But while we're waiting for the dry, we can wash the rest of him. So first things first, let's get his... goggles redone. That's okay. We're gonna have to read those from scratch anyway. Alright. Oops. Need to redo his flesh. Didn't realize that. Got him red down there. There we go. Okay, time for washi time. All right, so for the red, we're going to use our good old, where'd my bottle go? Marine juice or Sonic Tonic. This isn't even labeled, but it's basically flesh wash plus soft tone wash equal plus a buttload of medium equals a warm Omni wash that you can use for almost anything. So we shall. And I'm actually going to start by putting it over the white down here, because I want to see how this goes. So once you put it over the white, what does it look like? Why? It really dirties it up. See, look at that. So it gets that grime nice and in there. Grime time. Grime, anyone? As always with a wash, you really got to make sure you're not letting it build up too much in the recesses, because it will. And, of course, no big pools. So that's kind of what I'm going for there, is that nice grimy wash. Let's get the red washed now. Because this will add some depth, but also add some dirt. And I want him to be dirty, because this is Necromunda, right? This was a different guy. This was an Admech guy, different story. But this is a Necromunda, and a Necromunda working man. And by working, I mean, terrible gangster who bullies people and literally keeps slaves in line. So, not all work is good work. Brother, what? Being at an Orlock gang is finding a 3D printed hot dog roller machine. Hot dog roller. Hot dog roller. Alright, now, Nuln oil for the metallic bits. Although we're gonna redo another thing in the brass while we wait. And, I don't know if I like the brass grenade launcher. I think maybe next time what I will do is stick to a more matte grenade launcher that's not as shiny. Although this will get de-shined as we wash it. But this metallic is going to take several coats. The Army Painter metallics are not particularly good at coverage. Alright, while we're waiting for that, let's get a Nuln oil wash, which is where? Where did I put my Nuln? Nuln! Oh, there you are. Hey guys, funny story. The Nuln was on the paint rack where it belongs. Almost like it's where it should have been. An Orlock of an 18-hour shift at the profession factory needs 2 to 3 roller dogs and or a taquito. Yes. Having worked factory work for much of my life before I do what I do now, I used to... One of the works factories I worked at was an thermal insulation factory, a fiberglass insulation factory, where we had to put together the big, huge packs of fiberglass insulation that they would later make into, like, missile plates. So it's just like these giant bags of powder that you have to flatten out and smooth out, and then they bake them into these, like, panels. Very dangerous job, technically, because the fiberglass insulation dust will, of course, get into your lungs. So I had to wear the full suit and respirator every day. I hated that job, and it wasn't even particularly good paying. But they would always, proudly say, oh, we're making nose cones for the Patriot missiles, and it's like, cool, great. I mean, really nice that apparently that doesn't mean you actually have to pay us enough to, like, really for me to give a crap about this job. So if you're wondering, the tops of the nose cone missiles are not made by people who are being paid very well. I don't wonder if things work as well as they are. But it paid for school. Oops, I forgot to redo that buckle. Oh well. It'll survive. There are definitely ash waste gas stations, Prometheum stations, with really awful hot dog rollers, though. I fully believe that, in my heart of hearts. And I need to model one and make it a reality, because that sounds like a thing that would kill. What would a good pun name for a Necromundan gas station be? Because, like, what are the Necromundan gas... What are the real-life gas stations that are out there? Like, I think 7-Eleven's probably the big one. There's also, like, Quick Trip, Come and Go. What else is there that you could pun off of? Because I don't know how you would pun on 7-Eleven, right? That's not really one you can pun on. sure. I'll think about that because I think I've posted before in the Discord. Truly awful and absolutely necessary. Oh yeah, I mean I've eaten many of them. Because I know I posted in the Discord, and I've seen it every year at Adapticon. There's the Hive Scum folks or the JD and the Sumpsea folks. I forget who it is. They bring a little piece of terrain that is Hive Guys burgers and fries. Grok's burgers and fries. And it's always delightful to see them with that piece of terrain because it's just, yeah, it's like technically lore breaking or whatever, but it's funny. And I want to do something like that, but a gas station, like a Prometheum station in the ash waste, just with, Grok's dogs. Okay, and then we're going to use Agrax for the brown coats. So, Delakis with a giant squid beaver. Ooh, I like that. You might have won Delakis. Like, I mean, if you don't know the phenomenon of Buc-ee's in the United States, or certain areas of the United States, you should look it up. It's like a gas station that some people get weirdly into. My nephew has never been to a Buc-ee's, but he is obsessed with the idea of going to the Buc-ee's, to this point that for his birthday this year, my family is taking him to the Buc-ee's nearest Buc-ee's, on their way to a different park. And like I went to the doctor's office the other day, and the receptionist and nurse there had like a Buc-ee sticker on her. Like, I don't quite get it, but I am the man painting tiny plastic soldiers, so I'm not going to throw shade at someone for thinking Buc-ee's is cool, because I think nerdy things are cool too. Now, the reality is this shading is not going to do a lot here. The highlighting is where we're going to make this jacket work. Which won't be today. One of these days I need to save a project so you guys can actually see me finish something, because what always happens is that I get started on stream, and then I always finish off stream, and yeah, I post in the Discord and all that, but it's not quite the same. So you can see that the Nuln oil over those grayish boots has basically rendered them black, but with a cheap highlight, which is what we're going for. Let's get another layer of the chrome, evil chrome, on our cylinder here. We need another one after this too. Circle H with a Helmar emblem. Yeah, there you go. I don't know. I think you might have knocked it out of the park with Delakis. Because, they would use them to, like, I forgot to paint his mustache. They would use them to gather information. I was about to say we're going to do Reichland Fleshshade next, but I forgot to paint this man's mustache. What color mustache should he have? Should it be brown? Imam meme guy? Brother Awa I do not know the reference, I'm sorry. So what color do I want to make his mustache? It's hard not to go with just a good old black mustache, but that might be a little boring. So let's go with a brown mustache, except it's going to be a different brown. Let's make it a nice reddish brown, like a camo brown. Starbucks. Oh, dang it. Yeah, there you go. Well, Starbucks doesn't really have gas stations. That is a great terrain piece for our... Because I have the Underhive Market kit. That would be a great terrain piece. My understanding is that pledging leads to a capitalist rodent because the idea of functioning infrastructure seems magical, sustained as a American pastime. Okay, you know what? You don't have to... You might be right. He's right, but he doesn't have to say it. Look, we just all understand that we're headed for the franchise wars, and we're getting our allegiance out early. I just realized that this color is exactly Robotnik's hair color. Like from Sonic the Hedgehog. Use cardboard standees of the old metal gangsters for old, yeah. Uh-oh. Ah! I Should have gotten safety pin Kun, but I didn't, and I just splurted. Yeah, I'm learning. We're going to have to put out like a... Kind of redot his nose here with some flesh tone. Boop. There we go. And then... Oops. Not enough water off it. There we go. Franchise Wars remind me of Shadowrun. See, I was actually thinking of Demolition Man when I said it, but I think that I have very little familiarity with Shadowrun, which is kind of weird considering it should really be my jam. For some reason, it's not. Okay, one last thing of bronze on you. I mean, I keep saying a different weapon color every time. It's brass. The weapon, the color is called Evil Chrome. This is not chrome in any way, shape, or form. This is a brass color. But yeah, Franchise Wars, which is like, you know, cyberpunk meets sci-fi meets dragons and stuff, really should be like right up my alley, but I have functionally no familiarity with it. Okay, so all that's drying. Okay, we gotta get the... Oh, forgot to do Agrex on the... Reminds me I still have to read some of the Shadowrun novels this year. Yeah, I always forget they have novels for that. You know, the problem right now is that reading a novel series about a terrible, horrible dystopian future where tech corporations rule everything. Oops, I just fully put my arm into my skin shade, which would be a problem, or which would be less of a problem if I didn't, you know, if my skin wasn't it matched it, but it doesn't because I'm pale as heck. There we go. There we go. Okay. I actually kind of consider putting Agrex on the gun, too, to really get that dirty metal. We might start... Yeah, CRPG games, I should have played them, I just haven't. There's a target, but it's absolutely covered in bullet holes. Yeah. Yeah, Target opened a Necromunda franchise, and the gangers took it very literally. And I don't know what they expected, honestly. Okay. Oops. Looks like there's some skin shade up there. We need to silver over. Oops. That's not the right silver color. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. Now I gotta wait for that to dry before I can shade it. Well, let's shade his skin. Although, no, I don't need to shade his skin. Well, I guess we can't just shade his skin, because skin doesn't have to follow a order. Using Reichland for this shade. Honestly, a big reason why I'm using the GW ones is not because I like them better than the Army Painter ones, but because I have them open. I just showed you completely the wrong shade. I just almost put Targar Rage shade on this guy. That's not my Reichland. There it is. Jeez Louise. I blame society. Okay, there we go. Oops, that's way too much. That's fine, we can dab it off and spread it around. Get it way up in there. This will make his skin rather dark. This means this is going to be a very tan gentleman, which is fine. At least some variety. I have a tendency to overpale people. Of course, this shade is not going to work well on his bald head, because it's a giant flat surface, but it'll get in the recesses up against his, there's a scar here. And then when we relayer it, it won't be there. Trader Co's. Trader Co's is a good one. This is a battle burger. Burgers of battle. I have a feeling doing that would be considered heresy. Like, the Circle H will work because Helmar would obviously own it. and obviously profit off of it. And and be like the whole shtick there would be, even in the ash wastes, my reach is unending. Your sustenance comes purely from me, citizens. That makes perfect sense. But the Sisters of Battle, I think doing that, because there is a chapter house on Necromunda, and I think they would just come down and set you on fire.
Just getting into Necromunda, need help picking a gang. Have drawn to following. Enforces, Goliath, Squats, or Odar. Well, the Cordell? The Cordell? Yes. Okay. Unfortunately, we only have 5 minutes left, so I can only do this very quickly while we wait for this to dry. But, Enforcers. If you're just getting into Necromunda, well, you know what? No, Enforcers as a new gang are actually just as good as anybody else. We recommended starting with Goliath because they're very straightforward and very easy to play. Squats, their main problem is they're very, very, very slow, which can make you feel very, very reactive. And that you have to plan way ahead because you're not going to be able to get to objectives on time. But you're going to be able to shoot people off objectives very easily. Goliath are also toughness 4, and so they have a little bit of leeway in being hard to kill. But they have melee and shooting, both of which is good, which gives you some variety to play with as a new player, which I really like. Enforcers are kind of a weirdly technical gang in that they like doing stuns and things that stop people from doing what they want to do. And I feel like Enforcers are going to be the harder pick, but they're going to be fun. And Cawdor is Horde mode, so you have to paint lots of guys, and your guys kind of suck, but you have lots of shenanigans to make them good, and if you love fire. So, not knowing anything else, if you are completely stuck between those with no other preferences, I would say go with Goliath. If you have an aesthetic preference between them, I think any of the gangs you listed are not a bad start. Just be aware if you do squats, you're going to feel slow compared to everybody else, which is fine. You're just going to have to learn to play accordingly. And you're very gun-based, very DACA-based. Goliath is not as slow, but just as tough and has a lot of punch to go with their guns as well. Cawdor is you need more people, and you're going to need 2 boxes. That's probably the worst one to start with, honestly. And Forces are also fine nowadays to start with. They're not the weird, Outlander gang that they used to be, where you had to have a bunch of different rules. You just need to just be aware that you're a lot of your house weapons aren't going to have punch. They're more about destabilizing people. But on the flip side, your gangers all have access to bolters, which are one of the best basic weapons in the entire game. And you can't go wrong. Okay. As the last thing I'm going to do before I say goodbye, I'm going to get some more white on this. Josh, you mentioned that you only need to paint 10 models for this gang. No, it means when I say I only need to paint 10 models, it means I only need to paint 10 models right now. I'll have to paint more later. But it means that if we started next week, which I don't think we're going to, I don't think we'll start until June at the very earliest. It just means that to start with, also because I have some models already painted, is what I was getting at. These guys are not wonderfully painted up to my standards right now. I painted them a long time ago, but they are painted. And once I base them, I could put these guys on the battlefield and not feel bad about putting my gray plastic on the field, right? Are they what I want? No. Do I love that green nowadays? No. But I have, and this isn't even all of them, I have, a really good starting gang to start with. And you've got, this is my greenhorn, he's just got a gun and an axe. You got guys with auto guns. I've got my specialist with my champ with a plasma gun here. He's got an auto gun. I've got a wrecker with a cheap loadout. I've got my leader here who's got the starting servo fist and a plasma pistol. So all these guys are, this gang is kind of ready to go. I just need to base them. All right, well, it is 2:59. I will leave you with the worst thing I have ever made in Necromunda, which is this gentleman right here. This is Furbo Tucker. Yes, that is what you think it is. And no, I'm not necessarily proud of that. That's what happens when you kit bash while under the influence of inebriation.
Yes, it's an auto gun that is glued to his junk. He seems to be having a great time. And, of course, Furbo Tucker is, you know, and a spoonerism for, well, yeah, Turbo. So, will he make it into my gang? I don't know. I feel like putting him on YouTube too much will get me banned. But hey, he's there, and I'll play with him later. I have lore for him. But for now, Spudgy says, good evening, Josh, to our stream. You are coming in at literally the last minute. I am so sorry, Spudgy. I will talk to you on Discord later. I am so sorry. You're joining right at the last minute, girl. Oh, gosh. Yeah. But we're glad to have you anyway. At for 4 battles in, I need to paint 20 models, including Chronos. Aha, you are starting in June. I said June at the earliest. I didn't say June. Don't quote me. There's always more models to paint. Yes, there are. Speaking of which, there are always more models to paint, so we'll be back later. Thank you so much for all joining me all today. Thank you for the chats. Really great to hang out with you and just shoot the crap with you guys. Makes the 2 hours have flown by. I've gotten more painting done talking with you guys than I ever have before, and I think that says a lot. So Furbo Tucker says, please don't file a sexual harassment report on me. I'm not pointing my gun at you, I swear. And I will see you all later. We'll stream again on Thursday, hopefully with less technical difficulties this time. We're figuring it out with the multi-streams. Check out other stuff. We've got other stuff coming out on Monday. I don't know when the bat report will be up. Cody's working on it. Rest assured. No takebacks. I will see you all later, and have a great rest of your day. If you haven't painted today, see you.